Hi guys, it's Les here over in West Yorkshire, orchidspecies.co.uk and easyorchids.co.uk. What I'm looking at today is a Phalaenopsis that I'm sure everybody's seen one like this. It's one that's been growing in the conservatory, neglected in a corner, you know, with a bunch of other plants. It's not been taken out, it's just been watered. And this is the consequence. Now, as you can see, this has been a very, very productive plant because all of these are old flower stems. I mean, you can see how many it's had on it. And in fact, even in this condition, it's producing 2 flower stems. But it's in a terrible condition in its pot. It's got dry roots everywhere. And something that you'll note with these as well is that the leaves themselves, whereas they should be normally quite thick, stiff and plasticky feeling, this is a Phalaenopsis obviously. What's happened here is that they've turned to like a leathery kind of a texture, like a diver's wetsuit, and that's because the plant's dehydrated, and it's dehydrated for 2 reasons. Firstly, a lot of these are dead roots, so obviously they're not taking up water, and secondly, there's nothing left in the pot, so it's in dire need of repotting. Now, it is actually a lovely plant, despite its current appearance, but what you can do with this at this point, you've got 2 choices. You can either soak the plant in water for 24 hours, you know, up to its neck here, and allow it to reabsorb some water. And what that will do is it will obviously rehydrate the plant so that when you do repot it, it's already got moisture within it to sort of tide it over until it starts producing fresh roots. The downside to that is that as soon as you water this plant, with all these leaves like this bent, they will set in that position. So when you come to repot it the day after, it will be in this strange position. So what I tend to do is I tend to pot the thing up as it is, and then once I've repotted it, I will soak it, perhaps for 24 hours, up to its neck in water, and then continue as normal thereafter. And that will rehydrate it, but it will rehydrate it in the correct position, or a more pleasing position. So what I'll do with this is knock it off, and like I said, there's 2 flower spikes there, so I need to pay particular attention to them. And normally I would do this over the dustbin, but I want you to see what I'm taking off, but also what I'm leaving on. So we'll start by removing the pot. Let's say remove, it fell off. And as you can see, there's a lot of dead roots on that. So that would explain what's going off with these leaves. So let's just tap it. That's what usually happens with a Phalaenopsis. Ideally, you would end up with a cage. Now there are some live roots in there, but what I'm going to do is feel through these, and it's going to take me quite a while. And what I'm doing, I'm looking for the ones that look like this. Anything that looks like that, where it's got sort of a paper outer core covering this wire, looks like a wire, that's dead. That's had it. That's never going to do anything again. Because this outer core should encapsulate a material that's rather like the flesh of a courgette. It's a spongy material, and that's where the plant stores its moisture and its food, and that's obviously all missing. So we want to strip all these off, get rid of them. So I shall crack on with that now. What I'm actually doing to start with is separating all these root bundles into individual roots, and you've got to be quite careful because I don't know which are actually still alive at this point, so I'm not being too rough. I'm just separating them into the individual fronds like that, rather than being all stuck together. And now I'm going to start removing the dry, crispy ones. Right then, so that's the roots tidied up, and as you can see, all of these ones have come off, and these are all dead, clearly dead ones. I mean, some of the ones that are on here may very well die still, you know, where they've been rotted. Like there's one up here that's gone at the top, but that here, look, it's gone at the top. Is it going to focus? Come on. Yeah, it's gone here, look, but the bottom bit's fine, so I'm going to leave that, even though I know probably it's going to go at some point. It's still going to be advantageous to keep it at this point. So everything else here is looking lovely. So what we can do now is tidy up these old sticks, because they do look a bit of a mess. And I'm just going to cut them as close as I can get to the plant without actually damaging the plant. And they are quite stiff. I mean, a Phalaenopsis is a very, very tough plant. You've really got to give it some stick to kill it. The most common way of killing them is actually overwatering them, because as you've seen with this plant, it's so robust. It will flower anyway. So they're very, very good value for money, because a Phalaenopsis like this, a modern hybrid, will flower for a good 3 or 4 months at a time. So that represent extremely good value for money when you compare it to a bunch of flowers that's dead in 3 weeks. So anyway, that's this plant tidied up, as you can see, looking quite a bit better. And so we'll repot this now. I'll get rid of the rubbish. The bark I'm using is the 12 to 18mm coarse. It's just plain coarse bark, nothing added to it, and that I find works really well with Phalaenopsis. And I'm going to use one of the larger 15cm pots for this plant. And that's not because it needs it because of the roots, because it will actually go straight back into the same pot that it came out of, but actually because it's a large plant. By the time you've got these flower stems that are going to be probably approaching 2 feet tall with large flowers on, the flowers on this thing are about 3.5 inches across each, and it produces probably about 18 to 24 flowers per stem. So you're going to have a very top heavy plant, so I need an equally heavy bottom. So that's why it's going in that. So what we'll do to start with is just put a sprinkling in, and then we're going to position the plant. Any roots, incidentally, that are growing outside the pot, like these ones are growing outside the pot and they've got a silver coating on, well, they're aerial roots. Now they will eventually probably die if you bury them, but they're also actively growing, usually at the tips. So as soon as you do bury them, it will spurt it into growth, this. So it will grow and do more good before this bit dies than not burying it. So don't cut them off, stick them in your pot. So just, if you can, sometimes they're long enough, sometimes they're not, but just kind of do that with them. And then we'll fill it in. And tap in as we go, as we always do. And you'll note this week I've used mainly coarse bark on almost everything. Coleogenes, cattleya seedlings, all sorts of things. It's been one of them coarse bark weeks. Because coarse bark is good for most things because it's very free draining. But of course, once you get it nice and damp, it will retain some moisture. Whereas the fine bark will retain a lot of moisture, so easy to rot. Right, so I'm just going around the other side now. And I don't like using, when we say compost, I don't like using compost with Phalaenopsis, with peat in it and coir and all this kind of stuff, because it just holds far too much water. And that's not what the plant wants. That's how you get rotten roots. So that's our plant. Give it a good push shove down, because you can't over compact this material. And what I'll do actually at this stage, I'm going to put some sticks in for these flower spikes. So that's one. and then as the flower stems grow, we can fix them to the canes. But it also reminds us that the flower stems are actually here, because they're very easy to miss and they're extremely fragile. Let's put like that to a strange angle. There we have it. What that needs now is an extremely good water. I will water it with the hose pipe, and I use reverse osmosis water, so there's nothing added to it. It's just basically pure water at this stage anyway. I shall water that with the hose at the top, and I'll flood it so that any dust particles that stick into this bark will be flush out of the bottom. Get rid of them, because you don't want that. Do that twice. If it's like this with a plant with leathery leaves, in other words one that's dehydrated, what you could do with this is simply plunge the entire thing into a jug up to here of water and let it stand for 24 hours. The other thing that you could do, if you've got some really badly twisted leaves, because sometimes the plant's been lent against another plant and it's gone like this, what you can do while it's in this soft state is that you can position these where you want them and use sticks to hold it in position, then soak your plant, and overnight what will happen is as it rehydrates itself, the leaves will set in the new position that you set them at, and then you can take your sticks out tomorrow and they will stop where they are. So that's how you can get around it. So once that's had a good water, that'll be re-established in, I would guess, probably 3 or 4, 5 weeks time. You'll see new roots growing, and it will be away like mad, and it will not affect those flowers in any way, shape or form. They will just continue to grow and flower as normal, as if the plant doesn't even know it's been repotted, because all we've done is remove the dead roots, which it didn't know were there anyway. So that now thinks it's in Buckingham Palace. So that's how you deal with an unruly Phalaenopsis, be it one that you've had yourself, one that you've been given, one that you've rescued from a garden centre, or one that you've rescued from a supermarket. If you get one that's like that, that's how you deal with it. Hope you found it interesting. Hope it helps you to repot your own. And don't forget, visit the website orchidspecies.co.uk. And if you like Vanda orchids, you should take a look at the other site, which is easyorchids.co.uk. And we have the largest selection of flowering Vanda. I think currently there's almost 50 varieties. So get yours ready for Christmas. Anyway, catch you later.